everybody. My name is Patrick Schultz. I'm an account executive at TTX, and on behalf of everyone on the TTX team, we are pleased to welcome you to I believe this is the third webinar here in 2022, but our Maven Cloud webinar. Oh, let's try this. I'm being told how about now? Can we hear everybody? I'm being told I was unable to be heard, so hopefully you can hear me now. Awesome. Chad Voller can hear you just fine. Well, on behalf of everyone at TTX, we welcome you to the 2022, I believe this is the third webinar now we've done for Maven Cloud. We appreciate everyone joining us, taking time out of their busy schedules to check in with us, see what's going on. Maven Cloud is a wonderful opportunity to learn about cloud voice and hear a little bit about the status of cloud voice in the world, but where TTX stands on it and what we can do to help you out. So I'm going to give a brief background for those of you who are unfamiliar about TTX and those of you who haven't had conversation with us in quite some time. So TTX, we are 42 years young. We are on second generation ownership. We are proudly being steered by Brandon Kenny and Scott Ursum, our president and CEO. They are heading us in the right direction. We rebranded in 2013 under their guise from Teletronics to TTX, and we've not looked back. This is an important move forward for us. We are through that second generation stigma. We are making progress with new products and services to the marketplace. We have a huge customer base that is still familiar with the Teletronics name and familiar with the old products of old, the Telrad, Tatarans, ESI, and old ShoreTels that were put in place. And that is the bedrock of who we are. We started in 1980 in telephony with Telrad and Tataran phone systems, designing, implementing, and supporting those systems. When voice over IP became prevalent, we made the jump to ShoreTel and became a partner with them in 2005 and have been working with ShoreTel, Mitel since that time period. COVID did a lot of things for us. COVID disrupted the marketplace big time with how people communicated internally and externally. We had a lot of remote work. We had a lot of questions about how we could transition that voice from an in-house solution, something that was on-premise, to the cloud. We've heard a lot of rumblings about this now, and TTX did a lot of things to make that move happen, and that's what we're here to talk about today. But there's another side of the business that's important to note of TTX. When we made the move to ShoreTel in 2005, there was a lot of conversation about the network. The phone system was no longer living on an island, and it was part of the whole network now. So we had a lot of questions about what's going on, how can we help, what can we do to make that work. So we sort of fell backwards into managed services, which is something that is out there in a lot of different ways in the marketplace. Managed services means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And TTX has a branded product with the addition of our new director of technology, Chad Voller. We have taken what we set out into the marketplace as managed service and rebranded it as Proxy. There was a webinar about that last week, and we would love to have conversations with folks about kind of both sides of the business. Voice, those of you who are familiar with us from a voice standpoint who have never had the conversation about managed services, we'd love to share Proxy with you. It's an opportunity to join your trusted partner on both sides of the coin. Our deal with Proxy and managed services is not to replace the existing team you have in place. If you have an IT team, it's for us to run alongside you. It's an opportunity for us to help you reach new heights in your business via the support of your IT network. We are still doing project work. We are still working with companies on one-offs, whether that be server refresh, data backup, disaster recovery, business continuity solutions, O365 migrations, network projects, Wi-Fi projects, anything of the sort. We are your sort of one-stop shop when it comes to IT needs. But as I was talking about, I want to jump back into the voice side of things. We're here to talk about Maven Cloud. Maven Cloud is an important uh, piece to TTX because, again, we're firmly planted in the voice world. 42 years of experience. Telrad, Tataran, ShoreTel, Mitel, even 8x8, Ring Central, the other cloud providers of the world, we've worked with. And the thing that stood out to us was the lack of customer experience when moving to the cloud through a manufacturer like 8x8 or Ring Central. And we're not here to kind of bash everybody else or share negative stories. We're here to talk about the positive experiences that can be had through Maven Cloud and what Maven Cloud means to the marketplace. And it means that you can continue utilizing an elevated voice platform, a enterprise class voice platform through a partner. And that means that we are here to design, implement, and proactively and reactively support on the back end a cloud system. And that's something that we feel is very unusual in the marketplace. It is. It's not that we feel it. It is unusual in the marketplace. There are not a lot of opportunities for you to go to the cloud or to a hosted voice solution and receive ongoing support from a local partner. We feel that that experience is really important when navigating through the muddy waters of cloud voice. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about what Maven Cloud looks like, what it feels like to the end user, and how it could help communication flow better in your business. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Aaron Clark, who's our technical account manager at TTX, and let him take the wheel to start talking about stuff.
Yeah, thanks, Patrick. Thanks to all of you for taking time out of your day, busy schedules to join us. Excited to share with you what the Maven Cloud experience, especially from an end user perspective, might look like within your organization. As Patrick mentioned, my name is Aaron Clark. I've been a technical account manager here at TTX. I've had the privilege of working for the organization for 15 years. It'll be 15 years this July. So pretty amazing. You know, the amount of change that I have seen when it comes to voice communications in the last 2 to 3 years is so much greater than what I've seen or what I saw in the first 11 to 12 years of my tenure here and in this industry. So excited to talk through that. Excited to show you guys the Maven Cloud experience and talk through that. So thanks again for joining us this morning. Hey, so Patrick, where do you want me to start? You want me to just to run through a couple things, or you want to pick through a couple specific questions and have me talk through that?
Yeah, I'm gonna pick through a couple questions that'll help guide this conversation, so you can show a couple things. So I'm gonna jump right in. Question number 1: from a high level, can you take us through the different tools end users have access to within the Maven Cloud Elevate app?
Yeah, it's like I mentioned a minute ago. There's been a lot of change when it comes to voice communications, and when we look at phone systems, especially in the enterprise world, the phone hasn't gone away, but it's become less important. It probably depends on the organization, the industry, the type of business, that determines how much less important the phone has become. And so when we start talking about cloud communications, we're really talking about a unified experience that allows for in-office, remote, and hybrid connectivity. So being able to access a suite of tools from wherever you're at on any device. And there's so much more that has come out through COVID, especially, that's pushed this to the forefront with digital communications. So when we look at Maven Cloud, when we really look at any type of cloud offering, it's so much more than just a phone system anymore. Certainly not trying to diminish the value of having a conversation on the phone, but I've got my my desktop shared here with what's called the Elevate client. So this is the desktop software that end users have access to on the Maven Cloud platform. This is available for PCs, for Macs. There's even a web-based version of this. And really, what we're trying to do here is bring in a suite of tools and make for a very simple yet unified experience for our users. So when we talk about internal communications, when we talk about internal collaboration, but when we switch around and we look externally to making sure that our customers or our clients that are trying to communicate with us as organizations can do so in a simple yet convenient way for them. So we certainly have all the typical and standard phone features that you would expect an enterprise class phone system to have. A lot of these tools that I'm going to be referencing are found here on the left-hand side of the Elevate app, these different icons. So we're going to talk through some of these today and dive into a couple specific ones. But we've got our typical phone features. So we've got the ability to make and receive calls, right? We're going to talk through maybe different use cases depending on the type of user that might need access to the Maven Cloud solution. But we've got our phone calling interface, voicemail. We'll get into a little bit of the call groups and then call history. So these bottom four icons are really what drive the phone experience. And then everything from there up is all built around digital communications and collaborations, whether it's sharing files, what we're doing now with the webinar piece, virtual meetings, so being able to create on the fly virtual meetings and share desktops and files and all that internally, but also offering that up to external users. And then what the chat piece, so being able to send quick messages to individuals, team-based communication, even being able to send and receive text messages externally. So there's a lot that we're going to talk through, bringing in all these different types of digital communications into one app. And then, of course, there's other features like full-fledged contact center, being able to send and receive faxes through this. So there's quite a lot to unpack there.
Very cool. Well, I got another question for you. So, someone new to cloud voice solutions, there's a lot to unpack. Let's start with this. What different types of users does Maven Cloud best fit?
Yeah, well, good question. So the beauty of it, we can enable all of it, or we can turn on and turn off certain things, and all the way down to the user level, right? So we can look at a typical standard user. We'll walk through that a little bit. Maybe a power user or somebody like a receptionist or an operator that's taking a large number of inbound calls, or even some contact center or call center inbound queues for agents. So, and that can come in kind of two different flavors: a light version, which we'll talk about today, and then full-fledged omni-channel contact center agents. When we talk about bringing in web chat and email communications and doing automated outbound through omni-channel as well. But let's just start with the standard user experience. So some of the things that a lot of organizations are trying to accomplish through that is making sure, again, no matter where we're at, no matter what device we're on, we need to stay connected. So it's amazing that in talking to a lot of organizations, some of them have made the decision to go full, either full remote or even full full-time hybrid. So the idea of everyone being in a building, office building, is starting to become a thing of the past in some organizations. And so we want to make sure that our users can stay connected and that they can collaborate easily. So here in the Elevate client, I'm in what I call the messaging hub. So there's a lot from a standard user that's accessible to them from here. So I'm gonna use Gabe as my guinea pig here. So but Gabe and I've got this chat conversation going. I can send a message to Gabe, right? So if I'm in the office, Gabe's working from the road, or Gabe's at home today. He and I can quickly send and receive quick messages, right? So this is useful. This is useful for quick questions. Think a new user who or a new employee who is trying to learn workflow processes and go through their onboarding, be able to send a quick message to a counterpart or to their supervisor. But from here too, I can certainly escalate that to a phone call. So if I need to call Gabe, I can do a quick one click to call, and I can call Gabe. So that's just using my built-in soft phone. So in that specific scenario, I got to have a microphone and speakers on my computer, or obviously I could do some type of wired or wireless headset, and of course we can also send that audio through a desk phone as well. But then we can even collaborate. So I can click on this little camera icon, which will automatically create a conference. I'm not going to open that now since we're already on a webinar. But what it does on Gabe's end is it sends him this little card, and all he has to do is click join to hop in a meeting with me. And so from there, we can share our desktops. We've got access to video. We can share files, whatever we need to do as we're collaborating on different documents. And the documents themselves, we can even pull those into this client as well. So I can upload any document I want and send it to Gabe. All right. And so over here on the right-hand side of my conversation with Gabe, this will track all the files that we have shared with each other. And so anybody on, there's some integrations there to Microsoft 365. So from an end user perspective, I can log in with my Microsoft credentials, and I can actually go in and edit these files right from my Elevate client. So there's full integration right into 365. So the idea here is it doesn't matter if I need to send a quick message to somebody. It doesn't matter if I just need to make a phone call, or they need to call me, or we need to pop into a virtual meeting. I've got all of those tools right here from one window. And then I've also got presence of everybody. So I can see when Gabe's available. Over here, I can see Buzz he's got a yellow icon. He's just idle. I can see Matt Ryan's on a phone call. So not only can I connect with people, but I can see who's available, who's not available, and whatnot from a presence perspective. So this is just a one-to-one conversation that Gabe and I have going on. But we can also create teams or group chat, right? So I can pull multiple people into a conversation, and same concept. We can jump on a phone call. I can pull them into a virtual meeting. We can share documents and whatnot. And then all of this is fully searchable. So as the idea here is, as this becomes a more of just a communication, but also a collaboration tool, I've got the ability to search back. So obviously you're going to start creating a lot of history with all these different conversations and files and whatnot. And so you can search back through any of the chat history. Right now, I'm just searching for the word office, right? And so it's going to go back through my chat history with Gabe. And then over here, this is a global search. So I can search for users. I can search for Teams channels. I can search for files or whatnot. So it's very easy, or we want it to be very easy for users to be able to communicate quickly and efficiently, and also collaborate on different stuff. So that's what I would classify as a standard user experience. They're going to spend most of their time here, but of course the phone piece, right? Let's bring that back into the picture. So I certainly still have my call history, right? So I can go back through and see a log of every call I've made, received, or missed. I've got access to my voicemail, which will also appear on my mobile device or my desk phone and be accessible there as well. The voicemail piece is kind of neat. Looks like just a junk message here, but the voicemail, I can listen to the voicemail from the app. I can also have it configured to send me an email, and it also includes voicemail transcription. So for those lengthier messages, you can get an idea pretty quickly if it's something worth listening to. And so that's the voicemail piece. And of course, I can call that person back from there. And then moving into the calling module, this is more for the power users or the receptionists. These are the people that are on the phone more than they're doing anything else. All right. And so with this, I can break out my contacts into these different categories. So I can view all my contacts, just people that I've listed as favorites, everybody on my platform. Company contacts is anything in the phone system itself. So every extension, auto attendant, hunt groups, all that stuff. And then personal contacts for anything that I have synced from my mobile device. So I can sync iPhone and Android contacts to this as well. And so from a receptionist or a power user, somebody that's on the phone a lot, this is where they're going to spend more of their time. So again, I've got my soft phone over here on the right-hand side of my Elevate client or my dial pad. So this is where I can manually make calls outbound. Of course, I can, let's find Gabe again. So I can just one click to call Gabe from here. And then if Gabe, let's just envision me being, me playing receptionist for the day. So if Gabe calls me, which I'm going to have him do, what's nice is it moves that call right to the top. So I'll go ahead and answer that call. You saw the 3 icons there, so I can answer it, I can ignore it, or I can send it to voicemail. And then these are the features that I can interact with while on the phone with this caller, right? So obviously I muted that call. I can put them on hold. I can bring up the keypad, which is already up over here. I can flip that call over to my mobile device. So obviously receptionist not going to probably use that as much, but if I'm running late for a meeting, a lunch meeting, and I need to move that call over to my mobile device, I can do that just by clicking on call flip, rather than having to hang up and call that person back and just continue on with that conversation. I can park that call to a virtual extension and pick it up somewhere else, and then obviously transfer and conference. So what we want to make sure is from a reception standpoint, power user standpoint, the idea is here, I got to get a call and transfer it off. I need to move through these calls quickly. So if I need to transfer that call and click on transfer, it even tells me, hey, you're in a transfer mode here with Gabe. And if I want to transfer that call over to Patrick, when I put my mouse over Patrick, first of all, I can see if he's available. So he's got a little red dot. I can put my mouse over his picture there and get more information. He happens to be on our Maven Cloud webinar this morning. So he's not available to take this call. Right. So from there, I can transfer it if I want to, either through a warm or blind transfer. But in this case, I'll go ahead and just drop it into his voicemail because I know he's in a meeting and not available. So it's quick. We want it to be quick and easy for these power users to answer calls and to transfer them off. All right. Then we talked about users who are maybe fielding inbound inquiries, right? So it could be an inbound customer service group. It could be an inbound sales group, whatever. So we've got these advanced hunt groups. So most phone systems have the capability of being able to ring a number of phones at the same time, or maybe ring in longest idle order or something of the sort. But what we did here is add in some advanced, I'll call it advanced call center features, a light version for agents. So I'm going to show both from the agent perspective and maybe from a manager or a supervisor that oversees that particular group of users. So if I want to generate from my agent perspective, if I get I'll send a call in here so you can see it. All right, so I have a call coming in, and I if I'm in multiple groups, I can see which group they're calling into. So they're calling into my demo advanced hunt group. and I can answer that call. So A, we're at, let me mute that. We're presenting to the user or to the agent what group is calling. Obviously, if it's showing caller ID, I can see the number of the person calling here. From an agent perspective, I can manage my status for those groups by going into my agent settings here. So I happen to be a member of 2 different groups, and I can log in and log out right from here. I also have that ability from my mobile device, which we'll get into potentially here in a little bit. So again, it doesn't matter if I'm on my the desk client or my mobile device. I've got the ability to log in and out of those groups, so I can tell the system when I'm available or not available to take that call. And then just like a typical call, I've got the same set of on-call features, so I can transfer that call to another user or agent or whatever it is I need to do. What's really cool is from a supervisor or manager perspective, there's some pretty neat monitoring tools, both from a historical and real-time perspective, that are baked or built right into this thing. All right. So from a real-time perspective, as a supervisor, I have visibility of all the active calls. So I can see, here's a caller, they called in at this time, here's how long they've been on the phone, and here's the agent they're talking with. I also have visibility of all the agents in that group. So if Patrick should be logged in and he's not, I've got the ability to log him in. All right. I also have access to reporting, both from a real-time perspective and historical perspective. So this guy here is showing a little bit of both. So I can see there's 1 total active call. I've got 1 agent logged into my group. I've got 1 agent on the phone myself, right? And then I got some call, talk time, queue time metrics for the day. I also have access to these quick statistics or dashboards. And I'll pull this over. So what's nice about this is these can be put up on a TV. All you need is a web browser. These can be shared out with non-supervisors. So if there's another manager or executive or somebody that you want to have access to this, we're providing real-time visibility into the queues. So I can see there's one, again, some of those same metrics. And then down here, we can see some cumulative stuff for the day. So my average hold time in the queue, average talk time, the total number of the calls that came in, and the total number of calls that were abandoned. So all of this is baked into a standard license. You don't have to go into a full-fledged omni-channel contact center application in order to get access to some of this inbound call queue capabilities. So 1, we're making it easy for the users and agents to be able to log into those queues, and 2, for supervisors to have some pretty neat dashboards and reporting tools that are at their fingertips to be able to monitor those queues. So standard users, receptionists, power users, and then those inbound call center queue agents. I did a lot of talking there, Patrick. Sorry.
No, that's great. All that's really good stuff. I mean, we're seeing how everybody in an organization can and would use this system, and every organization has that diverse population. I want to touch a little bit on that diverse population of users and how folks can use Elevate. This is taking it in a little bit different direction. So is all of these tools only accessible from the app? We know organizations have users that are tied to a desk phone and have been for years. What does that experience look like? Or is there a mobile app for users that are on the road? I'm thinking of myself as a salesperson. I spend a lot of time in the car and on my phone. Can I have access to this via that? What does that look like? And what does a desk phone user look like? Someone who's not willing to make that transition quite yet.
Yeah, well, it's a fun conversation to have, and it's not unique to any one particular organization. So there's desktop apps, right? So that's what we're showing here with the Elevate client. Again, PC, Mac. There's also an identical version of this, as I mentioned earlier, for a web-based Elevate client, and then mobile apps, which I'll pull up here in a second and mirror my iPhone, and then also desk phone. So I've got one. I got one sitting next to me here. So, the phones are becoming, the physical phones are becoming less important. Some organizations are moving away from the phone completely. Sometimes it's organization wide, sometimes it's user by user or department by department. But the power of a cloud-based phone solution, I don't care which phone solution it is the apps. So all the development, all the digital communications, all of the simplified phone experiences are much better in the app itself. And of course, if we're talking about chatting and virtual meetings and stuff like that, file collaboration, all that stuff has to happen through the app. There's a lot more data that we can present or information we can present to users on in an app versus on a tiny phone screen. But those phones are still available, so the desk phone is still there. As a user, I have the ability to switch back and forth between desk phone mode and the application mode or soft phone mode. So I'm going to click on my picture again here to go into settings. And if I go into application settings, I've got computer or desktop mode. So right now I'm set to computer mode, which means when I make and receive calls, all of that is happening in the app itself. If I want to switch to desk phone mode, I can still use my app, but when I go to make a call through the app, it's going to tell me to lift the receiver on my desk phone or hit speaker or whatnot. So you have a choice as a user whether you want to use primarily the app or primarily the phone. Let me get it pulled up here just to show the mobile app as well. So the mobile app, again, is going to be supported on both iPhones and Androids, and it's going to provide all of the same functionality that I have in my desktop app. So obviously, I've got my phone. I got the wrong guy pulled up here. So I've got my Elevate dialer here, so I can dial phone numbers. I've got my call history. I've got access to all my chat conversations, my virtual meetings, all my contacts, and then voicemail. So again, when I click into that same voicemail message, I can play it. I get that same chat or transcription from the voicemail itself. So what we want to do is provide from a foundational standpoint, provide phone connectivity for all of the users, whether they want to be desk phone, desktop app, or mobile app, and then provide all the digital pieces of the communication puzzle in a unified, simple desktop or mobile app. Did I answer your question there, Patrick?
Yeah, absolutely. Is there let's see. Yeah, that answers it. That touches on everything I asked. I feel like I've been taking in a lot of information, which is all good stuff. So I just wanted to make sure I backtracked a little and understood what we just talked about. So I got one more question for you, and then we have some other questions that have been coming in that I want to get to. So
yeah.
Some organizations are deeply embedded in Microsoft Teams. As we all know, Teams is super prevalent out there. What is the Maven Cloud integration like for organizations who want that?
Yeah, well, if anybody's looked into the Maven or to the Teams experience, there's some pretty big limitations with the Teams app itself, right? So Microsoft is only going to let so many things happen, and they only provide certain APIs for third parties to be able to integrate to plug some of the gaps that the Teams phone piece of this has. From our perspective, though, we don't really care what app you want to use, right? We happen to think the Elevate app for Maven Cloud is a really robust yet simple experience that's going to check most of the boxes for those communication needs of an organization. But there are organizations out there, and some of you might be smiling as I say this, that say, "Hey, we are so deeply embedded in Teams, we want to stay there." And boy, if we could solve that puzzle of how to enable Teams-based users from that interface to make and receive calls, we'd love to do that. So we can certainly do that. Let me actually pull up I'm not going to go through a PowerPoint presentation. I'm just going to steal one slide here real quick that'll kind of illustrate the Teams piece of this. So when you look at the Teams phone, so this is the built-in phone calling capabilities. So everything is going to happen on the Microsoft side. So you port your phone numbers to Microsoft. Microsoft manages all of that. There's some limitations there's some pretty big limitations in terms of call routing capabilities from an administrative standpoint, but you're using Microsoft's portal to configure all your call flow. And then obviously from there, you're sending those calls to users who are either using the Teams interface itself, or some of them might be using a Microsoft Teams based desk phone, which has a lot of limitations in and of itself. When we talk about how could we integrate Maven Cloud to Teams or with Teams and improve that experience, what happens is you actually port those numbers to Maven Cloud. There's a Maven Cloud administrative portal that we manage for you, right? And so you get the full-fledged enterprise class phone routing capabilities that you would expect out of maybe your premise-based or cloud-based phone system that you have now. So the auto attendants are super flexible. The advanced hunt groups that I was talking through, you have the ability to configure how you want those to ring different users or different agents. A lot of automated schedule-based routing. And then everything that Microsoft can't do with faxing and analog needs and intercom and business SMS and all that. So from there, obviously, you want the idea is like, okay, great, that gives me all of the enterprise class PBX or standard phone system routing capabilities, but I want to send all those calls to the Teams interface. So we're not going to use this Elevate client. We're going to use Teams itself to answer those calls or to make outbound calls from. So that's totally fine. We can do that. What's nice about that is you can still have a desk phone. So the one thing that Teams doesn't do is they don't do extension-based dialing. So there's no ability to 3, 4, 5-digit dial another user, which depending on the organization can be a really big deal. And so routing it this way through Maven Cloud and integrating into the Teams interface allows for that extension-based dialing, whether it's through the Teams app itself or the desk phone. Receptionist modules, so you can enable some receptionist capabilities that aren't there in Teams, the contact center side, and then all the analog support. So as much as we'd love to see analog devices go away, fax to go away, it hasn't happened yet, right? So we still run into a lot of faxing needs, paging needs, door boxes. That stuff's impossible to do with Teams. You can't do it at all. So that's another piece of it that Maven Cloud allows you to do, yet still use that Teams interface for the basic inbound, outbound calling that users are going to need. And that's enough PowerPoint for one day.
Appreciate it. So we got a couple other questions. I'm going to jump right into one that is actually a follow-up to the Teams question.
Yeah.
And you kind of touched on this, but I think maybe we can talk about it a little deeper just for a second. Can Maven Cloud replace Teams completely for my business? Can we get rid of Teams if I move to Maven Cloud, or do I still need that to operate?
Get rid of it. It's a delicate line to walk. So it's a conversation that needs to be had. So before we say, hey, ditch what you're doing in Teams and move to Elevate, we need to understand how as an organization you're using Teams. If you're just doing some of the chat, internal chat stuff and maybe using the virtual meetings piece of that, yeah, by all means, that stuff is baked into the Elevate client, and you get that unified experience. No matter whether you're sending an internal chat, outbound SMS, jumping into a virtual meeting, or making a phone call, there's a lot of value there from an end user perspective, from a training perspective, a new employee onboarding to make all that happen in one app. However, there are certain things that Teams does that is better, right? So obviously, one of the big ones is that they're tied into the whole Microsoft 365 suite. So all the different apps, there's a lot of integrations there. You know, if you're doing a lot of deep Teams channels, integrating with SharePoint, and you've got a full knowledge base or whatever built out through Teams. Yeah, potentially yanking that away from users and moving that over to here might be a tough thing to do. So it's just a conversation that needs to be had to figure out, like, is it move everything over away from Teams into Elevate, or do a little bit of side by side where you're kind of getting the best of both worlds with what Microsoft's doing in Teams and then what we can do in the Elevate client. And we can turn off, right? So if you're doing file sharing and virtual meetings in the Teams piece and you want to continue to do that, that's fine. And we just turn that off in the Maven Cloud Elevate client.
Very cool. I think that answers that. And I know that's a question that I receive quite a bit as Teams has made its way just about into everybody's life in some way or another. So I appreciate you answering that one. Let's get to another one. We got some here. Here's one. Is the chat SMS government agency compliant for discovery and HIPAA compliancy? Meaning, are the SMS messages stored on a server and end users prevented from deleting the messages?
Yeah, I have to refer back. Off the top of my head, I believe SMS is the one thing that would not meet those compliance needs, because it's actually being routed. SMS is being routed on the back end through a third party in order to access the cellular networks. So maybe we can take that as a follow-up item, but I'm pretty confident that the SMS piece would not meet that. The chat piece, yeah, we can talk through PCI and HIPAA compliance and all the security parameters around that. So the internal chat is stored and retrievable if needed. But once that SMS message is sent, a lot of that too has to do with the external carriers and devices that those are being sent to.
Oh, I see some chats going back and forth here.
And as yeah. So someone made a point, like SMS can be disabled, right? So if you want users to have access to chat, but you do not want them to be able to send and receive text messages, that can be turned off.
Okay. All right. We got another one here. You'll probably get to this later, but I'm interested in learning about call center features supported by the platform, such as ACD queues, auto attendance, callback queues. I'm also interested in learning about features that would support supervision and training in a call center via call monitor, supervisor, whisper, barge, call recording, analytics reporting on the performance of agents, and queue stats.
Yeah, that's a big conversation.
Yeah.
We'd love to have it. It's probably worthy of its own webinar, which we are certainly going to do. Super high level and quickly. Yeah, we have Maven Cloud, contact center, omni-channel capabilities. So, and bringing that into this unified client. So we're not going to send, our standard users are not going to live in Elevate, and then our agents are living in a different app, which happens with a lot of contact center solutions that are out there. So we're going to bring all of that into this app as well. But yeah, advanced inbound queue routing, support for web chat, send and receive queue-based text messages, bringing email into agent queues, the ability to monitor from a real-time perspective agents, do evaluations for agents, post-call surveys. The list goes on, but I'll stop there just for time's sake. Yeah, but there's a lot we can do in the contact center space. Absolutely.
Very cool. One final one. And this might follow that same direction of an answer, but can you show us how Maven Cloud might integrate with my company's CRM?
Ooh, good question. There's some pretty great out of the box CRM integrations that are available. So back into my settings in Elevate under the integrations section here. So we can do some, and this is just on the UC or PBX side. So our standard users. When we get into the contact center piece, the full-fledged contact center, there's even more that we can do. But we can do a lot within Salesforce, ServiceNow. You can see the list here, but we can also do some custom integration. So we happen to use ConnectWise for our ticketing platform, and I was messing around with doing a URL-based screen pop. So as calls come in, we can look at the caller ID and do a quick pop to whatever CRM you're using. The Salesforce, the out-of-the-box integrations do more than just a screen pop too, so we could actually write we can write call activity back to the CRM with that. And then when we get into the contact center piece, we can tie in using REST APIs. We can tie into those CRM platforms and do dynamic-based routing. We can write call activity back. We can embed the call recording link right to a CRM record, and there's a lot of flexibility there in the contact center space specifically. But if you got like Salesforce or ServiceNow, there's a couple other ones that aren't in here that are coming out soon. There's no extra software that you need to install. It's built right into the Elevate client, and it's just a matter of connecting that, having the user sign in, and away you go.
Very cool.
And we have done a couple of those custom ones for platforms that don't have pre-built out of the box, that just want a simple screen pop or something like that. It's just a URL based query that we're doing.
Gotcha. Well, that about does it on the question side of things. So I'm going to pop my video back on to say farewell to everybody here. Aaron, amazing job. We've done a handful of these together. We do these one-on-one, and it never ceases to amaze me how in-depth you can get, and just how passionate you are about Maven Cloud and TTX and your knowledge base on this. So I'll say thank you for that. Hold on. Looks like we got one more question. Oh, just a comment. Someone saying thank you to you. But so thank you, Aaron, for sharing that with us. To all the folks in attendance, if we did not answer your question, given the time that we have, or you have more questions that come up, your account executive or your strategic account manager, however you got to this webinar, whether that was through marketing or through those folks, they're going to follow up with you. They're going to see if we can schedule some time to dive a little deeper, get past the surface level on Maven Cloud and how it could work in your environment. I know there are some folks that would like to see that. We're getting some messages in the chat about one-to-one or letting them know when the next webinar is coming up. So our folks on the TTX side will certainly be ready to do that. We want to thank everyone for joining us, taking the time this morning. We do not take that for granted. It's an awesome time for us to share Maven Cloud with the workforce and the places that need some new tools. So we appreciate everyone's time. We appreciate Aaron most of all. Thank you. And everyone have a great rest of your Tuesday.
Yep. Thanks, Patrick. Thanks, everybody.
Take care.